dedicated for a refuah shlema for Chana Bat Lori. So the limud should be in the zchut of her refuah shlema. If you guys can't hear, I would suggest going to the Facebook because today's there's a lot of important halachot. Okay. Okay, so we're gonna start with the halachot for before we get to. Well, actually, we'll just skip to there. We're gonna do the halachot of Erev Shabbat Chal Pesach. So this year it's or Erev Pesach Chal Shabbat. So this year it's an important year since this year we have Erev Pesach falling on Shabbat, and this comes into a lot of interesting halachic discussions, and so B'ezrat Hashem we'll talk about that today, and hopefully the Zoom will work. Okay, so we talked about last week that there's this thing called Shabbat HaGadol where the rabbi gives his drasha. So usually it's the Shabbat before Pesach, but this year it being that the day before Pesach is Shabbat, so Shabbat HaGadol, at least the drasha of the Shabbat HaGadol is moved a week back, and so that's not really pertaining, we're not the ones giving the speech, but we have to come to the speech, so just have that in mind.
So is that a week from Saturday?
That's going to be, yes, a week from Saturday.
This Saturday? No.
A week from Saturday. Shavua achrei Saturday. Shabbat.
Really? I think one more, no?
No, Shabbat HaGadol.
Oh, Shabbat HaGadol.
Yeah, the Shabbat HaGadol drasha. Yeah. And then 2 weeks is Pesach.
Yeah, 2 weeks.
And so then we said the Bedikat Chometz, we talked about this also last time, will be done Thursday night. That's the correct time to do it, even though that's technically 48 hours before Pesach, and usually we do it 24 hours before Pesach. 24 hours is Shabbat, so you wouldn't be able to do the Bedikah on Shabbat, so you'd have to do it Thursday night. And then, of course, you would do it with a blessing, and you would have to do the bitul, the nullification after that, after that search. If one did not search the night of the 13th, that Thursday night, then
I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay. So we said that if you didn't do the search on Thursday night, you can still do it during the day, during Friday, and again you would do it with a bracha. And the ideal way, of course, like we said last time, is with a candle. If you're a firstborn, then the fast of the firstborn this year would be the Thursday, not the Friday, the Thursday. Meaning that if you have to listen to a siyum, you would have to listen to a siyum on Thursday, which shouldn't be a problem. I'm sure we'll have a lot of siyums here.
Anybody else's audio cut out?
You're cutting out, you said.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, no, Rabbi, I can hear you perfect.
Now I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. It's a bad service in this room, so just gonna have to go through with it.
It's okay.
The fast of the firstborn will be Thursday. Make sure to listen to a siyum. If not, then you're gonna have to go through the whole fast on Thursday. Break it Thursday night, and really you would have to go through into Bedikat Chometz. Fasting, but of course you can have water or eat fruit, like we talked about last week, with regards to eating before the Bedikah. The proper time to do the bi'ul, the burning of the chametz, is just like every other year. It's going to be on Friday, before the 6th hour. So you want to make sure you're doing the burning of the chametz on Friday, even though, again, you're still going to eat chametz after that. You still have another 24 hours until chametz is not allowed. Nevertheless, you would burn the chametz Friday morning. Now, you're going to go on into Shabbat. Some people will be, I'm not going to, but some people will be going on eating chametz. And so we'll see in a second what do you do then with the extra chametz and with the bi'ul there. Fine. But as far as going into Shabbat, that once we're eating the Shabbat morning, if you're going to eat chametz at all throughout the day on Friday or on Shabbat, then after on Shabbat morning, you'd have to do another bitul. You'd have to do another nullification. And so that nullification is found in most of the Sidurim and the prayer books. And so even if you don't plan to eat chametz at all on Shabbat, but you did have Friday lunch chametz, then you would have to do the bitul again, because the bitul that you did, the nullification that you did at the time of the burning, was before that. So you're kind of showing that this is something new. And then if anything else is left, then you would have to nullify that. Yes.
Did you say that you weren't going to have chametz going into
Shabbat? Yeah. And we'll learn right now what's the best way, because it's going to get very complicated. Yes.
Because I thought you had to have it.
I said I'm going to. You're allowed to.
Okay.
You're allowed to. Okay. There's no obligation to have chametz on Shabbat, and we'll see that how to tackle the issue then of having hamotzi on Shabbat. So the proper time for selling the chametz. I know none of you guys are selling the chametz, but good to know that I talked to Rabbi Feigenbaum, and if you're selling it to Rabbi Feigenbaum, he's going to be selling it on the morning, early afternoon on Friday. Meaning everything has to be in that place, because you're going to say on a specific place in your house to put all the chametz. You don't want to say the whole house, because then the whole house isn't chametz. So you want to put it usually in a cabinet, in a room, whatever it may be. That's where all the chametz is going to be sold. Make sure that all of the chametz that you want to sell is in that room before the time that Rabbi Feigenbaum is going to be early afternoon, early morning, and then whatever you plan on using outside of that room. Yes.
He sells it every night that the week leading up to. We sell it to him.
Yeah.
Is that a problem? Or
No. When you sell it to him, right? You designate a certain place in your house, right? And so this year it's a little different, because even after he sells it, we're still allowed to eat chametz, because he's going to sell it in Friday afternoon, and throughout the rest of Friday and into the night and into Shabbat, you can still eat chametz. So the idea is you have to make sure that everything you're selling is in that room, in that place. Everything else that you're going to need for Shabbat should be out in a specific place, not where you sold it.
all right, very quickly, can we have more than one place that we don't have access to?
Yes.
We stick it like in the cabinets. We put
Yeah.
in the room.
That's fine. As long as you have.
We don't open those doors. We don't open those cabinets.
Yeah, so as long as you denote that and you relate that to, I guess, on the paper, the best thing to do, some people just write their address, but the best thing to do is to actually write where in the house all the chametz is located. So as long as you get that, minimally, that's the idea. But you can't just be like the whole kitchen, right? And because then it's like, okay, now you're going to come into Shabbat and you want to have your challah, and it's like, oh wait, I sold it all right? And then what are you going to do? You've sold it. It's not yours. So you have to make sure that that you at least have that in mind going into Shabbat, at least into Friday, that what you need for Shabbat is in its own place, and everything else that I'm selling is in its place. That way you don't come to any issues with that. So even though we said the bi'ul, the burning of the chametz, is designated for Friday before the 6th hour, before the 5th hour, right, before the 6th hour, even though that's the case, they only did that as a guard, so that next year, when it's actually Erev Shabbat, we won't forget. And because of that, the rest of the day, like what we said, is you're allowed to eat chametz. And what comes out of that is actually just a stringency for the bi'ul with the burning. But let's say now you want to purge your vessels, you want to clean the kelim, the utensils for Pesach, you have the whole day to do that. It's not necessarily until the time that you burned. Usually you have until the time that you burn the chametz, until the 6th hour, to clean your vessels. After that, it wouldn't be allowed to use. But because it's Friday and the whole day technically is allowed.
I can't hear you.
Can you guys hear me now?
Hello?
Can you guys hear? Hello? Can you guys hear? Oh.
I Nice haircut, Rabbi.
Thank you. The Wi-Fi is not even the Wi-Fi. I don't think I'm on the Wi-Fi even.
They have wiring problems in this room.
Yeah, I think they do it on purpose so that we can focus when we're praying.
Oh, nice.
I know there's some synagogues that they put specifically a blocker on the synagogue so that when the people come into synagogue with their phones, they won't get any service. So
That's true.
yeah.
Sneaky amazingness.
Fine. Work on Friday. Usually you're not allowed to work the day before Pesach, but until Chatzot or until a certain time on Pesach. But this year, since the day before Pesach is Shabbat, we usually bring that down to Friday. Friday you're allowed to work, and you should work until the regular time for working on Friday, which is around 2.5. The final 2.5 hours of the day is usually not allowed.
I can't hear you again.
Can you guys hear now? Oh, okay, that's because it keeps going in and out the Zoom. What are you gonna do? I can't. We're gonna just have to keep going on. The you want to make sure that all of your prep, at least for the Seder, is done before Shabbat. So inspecting lettuce, making the charoset. All of those things should be done. Some people have, I know I do sometimes, or I do. I make sure that I measure all of my lettuce and my matzot, so I know that I'm eating the exact amount that I need on the Seder. I don't need to eat more than I need to. So usually we'll learn that, I think, next week, how much the minimum to eat at each of these intervals during the Seder. And so I measure that before. You should measure that and do all of this before Shabbat. And so all of this should be done before Shabbat. Some people, even if, let's say, you want to make the salt water, you would make the salt water before Shabbat, or you would have to wait until the Seder, which salt water isn't such a big deal. But I guess if you're hosting, a ton of people and you want salt water on each table, so you can't do that on Shabbat because that's preparing for the next day. You'd want to do that on Friday. Yes.
How much time do you have from the time you do Havdalah to what is the time frame there on Shabbat?
To starting the Seder?
To start the Seder.
So the Seder, we do Havdalah in the Seder. So Kadesh, this year, the first step when we do Kiddush, Kadesh, and the Seder, that's also going to have Havdalah integrated into it.
So there is no time.
What do you mean there's no time?
There's no...
The regular Motzei Shabbat time. Unless someone keeps Rabbeinu Tam. If someone keeps Rabbeinu Tam, then... But they also don't have to push it off to Rabbeinu Tam this year. Unless they want to light a candle.
But there's no okay, we have an hour to get these tables ready and... So
we'll see if there's an issue. Then some people are lenient as far as rabbinic prohibitions. Because hachana, preparing for the holiday, is a rabbinic prohibition. So the last 30 minutes before, the 30 minutes before Tzedek Kochavim, before the stars come out, you have some leeway to play with. But it's a b'diavad. It's not machloket. It's like you do it only if you need. If you're hosting a lot of people and you know that you're not going to have enough time. But usually the men at shul only come home a little bit after Seder Kochavim, and even then you can, and we'll go into all of those halachot in a second once we get through the Shabbat itself.
Sorry.
No, you're good. So the Shabbat morning prayers should be prayed early, just because you want to make sure that you're eating, at least people who are eating chametz, they want to eat it early so they don't come into the issue of eating chametz on Pesach, on Erev Pesach. So now let's go into the Shabbat. Okay, so you're coming into Shabbat. If you're planning to eat chametz, you can eat chametz in the night meal, in the morning meal. And the morning meal has to be done before 10:53. 10:53 in Dallas is the latest time to eat chametz. So you need to be done with the meal by 10:53 a.m. Brushed your teeth, flossed, and you're basically ready for the Chag by 10:53 on Shabbos. 10:53.
Floss and brush on Shabbat.
Yes, you're allowed to floss and brush on Shabbos over here in this
you're not
case.
saying that you're not going to eat chametz even at the Friday night meal. Is that correct?
So that's if you want to eat chametz.
That's
Okay.
if you're stringent.
Yeah. There's no obligation to. He just brings it's a good idea. First of all, also when you're eating chametz, you should try not to eat chametz that makes a lot of crumbs. So don't eat chalot. Maybe eat pita. Maybe eat wraps. Something that doesn't make a lot of crumbs. If you are going to be like me, where I'm, I don't want any chametz at my Shabbat table. So there's a couple things you can do. The night before, according to I think all opinions, even Ashkenazim, is that you can eat matzah shmura on Friday night. You can eat, let's say, whatever matzah you want to eat the next night at the Seder. You can eat that same matzah on Friday night. The problem is Saturday, you're not allowed to have any matzah, shmura matzah, whatever matzah you're planning to have that night, you cannot have because the taste of the matzah has to be new to you. It has to be something that you're anticipating, you're waiting for, and so you cannot have matzah. That's according to all opinions. Shmura matzah, the matzah that you plan to have at the Seder, is not allowed. Not only is it not allowed, it's muktzah. So you're not allowed to even touch it. So any matzah that you plan to have to eat during the Seder is muktzah. You can't touch it. And let's say it's in the freezer. The only way to move it, let's say to get ready for to take it out for it to defrost, is to put like a lettuce, celery, or something on top of it that you're allowed to move, and then you can move it. And that's just a leniency. And the best thing to do is to already have it out, or to wait until after Shabbat to move it. But if you want to eat kasher la Pesach, you want to have your Shabbat kosher for Passover, at least for Sephardim, so we said Friday night you can have matzah. Saturday, if you're Ashkenazi, you don't really have much of a choice. You can only have a meal based on meats and fruits, and that's it. You'd have to do kiddush on the kos, on the wine. If you're trying to make it kosher for Passover, then you would just have to have the meal with the meat and chicken and fish, soup, whatever it may be, but no matzah. If you're Sephardi, though, Sfardis bring down that you can have matzah, but not matzah. Okay, what am I meaning? That you can there's two ways you can have matzah on Saturday. One way is that you fry it, you kind of spread eggs on it, and then you fry it in a frying pan. Or you can boil it. And that means that you have a pot of, this is what Rav Ovadia would do. He would take the matzot that he would eat on Shabbat. He would dip them in the boiling pot of soup. And then on Shabbat, all of this is done before Shabbat, and then on Shabbat itself, he would say hamotzi on that. And you can use that both for the morning meal and for the Suda Shlishit. And so that is, at least for Sfardis, that's the ideal way to do it. That way you don't come into the Sabbath with any issues of eating or burning chametz. When, let's say, if you do plan, like I said, if you do plan to eat chametz anytime after the bi'ur, the burning that you did on Friday, you would have to do another bitul, you would have to do another nullification Saturday morning. And if you have any leftover bread or leftover chametz from any of those meals, either Friday night or Saturday morning, you would have to destroy it either by flushing it down the toilet or putting it into a communal trash can and kind of dumping some chemicals on it so that even a dog wouldn't be able to eat it. And then, of course, after you do the actual destruction of the chametz, you would have to do the bitul, the nullification, like we talked about last week. Sfardis also have another opportunity, another thing that they can eat. It's called matzah ashira. But for matzah ashira, you would say mezonot on it. You wouldn't say hamotzi unless you ate 216 grams, and then you would say hamotzi and Bedikat Chometz. But that's not really especially for Suda Shlishit, that's not recommended because you want to come to the meal hungry. So that's the best way. So the best way, at least the advice given down by Rav Ovadia himself, was to either boil or fry the matzot in order to eat the matzot on Shabbat, so you can say hamotzi and Bedikat Chometz for Sfardis. The Suda Shlishit, we want to try eating it relatively early. Technically, you have until I think it's around 4:30, something like that, to eat it. But you want to eat it relatively early. There are probably going to be opportunities to mincha at the earliest mincha, and then relatively right after that, you should go into the Suda Shlishit. Again, you can either do like what we said, matzah ashira, the fried or boiled matzot. At least for the Sephardi Jews, again, we're allowed to sweep the floors, so you can sweep all the crumbs out of the house if you ate chametz. Although it's forbidden to wash the floors, sweeping is allowed as long as it's not on ground. It's on tiled or it's not on the bare ground, basically.
You can't sweep dirt.
You cannot sweep dirt
Right.
on dirt floor, but you can sweep dirt off of tiled floor.
So you get rid of the garbage.
Yeah. If you ate any chametz, you should shake off the tablecloths outside. And any chametz that you forgot, then you didn't destroy, becomes muktzeh after the fifth hour. So around 10:53, right? After around, I think around 11:53, we'd have to check. The chametz becomes muktzeh, and you wouldn't be able to touch it on Shabbat. Really, it's there's a machloket of this in the Mishnah Berurah. There's an idea, and I think this is how the Mishnah Berurah paskins also, that with regards to we generally say that it's a mitzvah deoraita, it's a commandment from the Torah to do either the bitul, the nullification, or the destruction of the bread. So you only have to do one of them, or the nullification, or the destruction of the bread. The sages came and said, we're going to do both of them as an extra stringency, because you know how many times someone says they destroyed, they come home and it's there, or they nullified and then they found more bread. So we're doing both of them. We're doing both the nullification and the burning. So that means the second stage, whatever it may be, is a rabbinic law, but both of them, either one of them, if none of them are done, one of them is a biblical law. So the Mishnah Berurah cites an opinion that on Shabbat, let's say someone now, he planned to eat chametz for Saturday morning, but he had a long night, he was learning a lot, and Baruch Hashem, he woke up, was late, he had to go to the later minyan, maybe Rabbi Epstein, whatever it may be. He came home, and what happened? It was already past the time to eat chametz. He has a piece of chametz on his table right now, on his shulchan Shabbat, and like what we just said, any chametz that is after the fifth hour becomes muktzeh. So the Mishnah Berurah cites an opinion that because he didn't do nor the nullification, nor the destruction, so you can't do the nullification anymore. The nullification after the 6th hour, you can't do it because you're not allowed to benefit from it, and you can't nullify something you can't benefit from. So you lost the opportunity to do the nullification. So the only thing you can do is the destruction. So the Mishnah Berurah cites, because that would be a deoraita, that's a biblical law, it would push away, it would be doche, the rabbinic law of muktzeh. Muktzeh is just a rabbinic law. And so you would be able to move that bread off the table, destroy it, put it in whatever is in the big trash can outside, or break it into pieces and flush it down the toilet, and you would be safe like that. And so that's at least what I think from what I read from the Mishnah Berurah. He doesn't bring it here in the Yalkut Yosef, but I think that's a good eitzah. It's a good advice.
It is good.
And so hopefully none of us run into that issue, but if you do, now you know what to do. If he came and, I don't know, he was gone the whole Saturday, he was invited out Saturday, and then he came home on Pesach and he saw that it was there would be a different issue now. Well, actually, it would be the same issue. But let's say in a regular year where he already did one of these, he did the bitul, he did the nullification, and then he found a piece of chametz in his house that he didn't burn.
Wouldn't it be nullified?
It would be muktzah. If it's greater than a kazait, it's not nullified. Or else it's nullified, but even there's an issue of bal yireh, you can't look at chametz in your house. You can't look at chametz. Yeah.
So I asked this question at a class I was at on last Shabbos because someone said that you don't have to pull, maybe I shouldn't say, but they were like, if you can't reach chametz, if you don't think at any point that you could get to it, then it doesn't matter how big it is, it doesn't matter anything. I just wanted to ask what you thought about that.
That's correct.
Okay.
Because once you can't reach it, you can't access it, and you're doing the bitul, you're doing the nullification. It's something that it wouldn't be able to be accessed.
Even if it's bigger than it.
Because no one's accessing it. You just need to know that if you were ever able to access it, that you would have to burn it. That would be the only thing there. But let's say you came home and after the nullification and you did find now that you did the nullification, you did the biblical aspect, and now you just have the rabbinic aspect of burning it. At that point, you wouldn't be able to move it. A rabbinic doesn't push away another rabbinic prohibition. So the rabbinic prohibition of destroying the chametz wouldn't push off the rabbinic prohibition of muktzah. Only if it was a deoraita. Over here we're talking about where he did the nullification. So it's a rabbinic. And over there, you wouldn't be able to touch it. You would have to put a bowl or a pot, something to cover the chametz, because you can't see the chametz. You're not allowed to look at the chametz. That's a deoraita. It says so you can't see the chametz, and therefore you would have to wait until after the Chag and then burn the chametz. And so that's
Still have to burn it.
you have to burn it. Yeah, any chametz in your possession, even after the Chag already started, you would have to burn.
You can burn in the holiday?
You cannot burn on the holiday. Motzei Chag you would have to burn. So we said that the matzah on Shabbat is muktzeh. At least the matzah that you're planning to use that night is muktzeh. And then if you needed to get it ready to set it out of the freezer, you would have to put a piece of lettuce, something on top of it, and move it that way. The ideal time to do the setting up, whatever it may be, for Shabbat is 13.5 minutes after sunset. So 13.5 minutes after Shkia, which we can start preparing. Yeah. So I think that's around 20 minutes before Tzedek Kochavim, something like that. 30 minutes before Tzedek Kochavim. I think, for example, today it's around maybe 8 o'clock. We'll have to check that out. But at that point, you can start setting up the table. So 13.5 minutes after Shkia, after sunset, you can start getting ready. Okay. So that's that. During the Amidah on Saturday night, Saturday night, the Sephardi women have the custom first of all that we say Hallel, and the Sephardis have the custom of saying Hallel at night on Arvit on Saturday night, for example, this year, and so do the women with a blessing, or the men will do it with the blessing, and so. And I think the women also do it with the blessing. We'll see that, I think, next week. But also during the Amidah, during the Shemona Esrei, we have to make sure that we add the the extra psukim of Vatadienu in the Amidah, that over there it's kind of like Ata Chonantanu on Motzei Shabbat, that we're adding to the Amidah, that kind of includes that La'avdil ben Kodesh LaKodesh. The woman at home, when they're supposed to light the Yom Tov candles, really you need to make sure also before Shabbat that you have one of those 24-hour candles already lit, so that you can use it from fire to fire on Motzei Shabbat. If a woman is normally doesn't keep Rabbeinu Tam, then this Motzei Shabbat also she doesn't have to keep Rabbeinu Tam. So at Motzei at Tzedek Kochavim, when the stars come out at Motzei Shabbat, she has to say Baruch Hamavdil ben Kodesh leKodesh, and then she can light and say the blessing Baruch Ata Hashem Asher Kiddushanu b'mitzvah v'zmanu la'adlik ner shel Yom Tov, and then light the candle.
She make a fire.
Huh?
There
should be one that is for 24 hours, 48 hours.
Okay.
Yeah. If a woman is usually keeping Rabbeinu Tam, then she should wait until Rabbeinu Tam and then do it. Even though you can get the whole place started setting up before Rabbeinu Tam, because this is a deoraita, this would be a malacha from the Torah. You should wait until, if you're makpid, if you're stringent and you keep Rabbeinu Tam every week, so too on this Shabbat you should keep Rabbeinu Tam. The women do not have at least Sephardi women do not have the minhag of saying Shechianu at the candle lighting, and instead they should wait until the husband does it at Kiddush. But if she did say it, she can still say Amen at the Kiddush when the husband does it. At the Kiddush, when we're doing Kadesh, the first step in the Seder, we add Havdalah to it. So the order usually it's called Yak Nahaz. The Yud stands for Yain. The first blessing would be Borei Perei Gefen. And then you would say Kiddush, the Kiddush of the Yom, the sanctification of the day. And then you would do Ner. You would have to do Baruch Meorei Ha'esh, Borei Meorei Ha'esh, right? You would say it on the candles that were already lit, or the wife just lit it. And then the Havdalah, Hamavdil ben Kodesh leKodesh. And then Zman is Shechianu v'Kimanu v'Giyanu leZman hazeh. All of that will be in the Sidur. Follow it, make sure you remember it. If someone forgot to do, yes.
So you light the Havdalah candle?
No Havdalah candles.
No Havdalah.
No Havdalah. It's just whatever candle that you have for.
That's what you're saying.
That's what you're saying. Hamavdil. Yeah. Yeah. No Havdalah candle.
No Havdalah candle.
Correct.
Okay, got it.
You would do the Havdalah on the Nerot of Chag. That the wife lit up again. Mm-hmm. If someone forgot to do Havdalah, so it depends what time he is in the Seder. If he forgot it any time until the Magid, until the starting reading of the Haggadah proper, then he should stop whatever he's doing, say the whole Yak Nahaz, what we just explained, and continue on with the Seder. If he started reading the Haggadah though, the Magid, then he should just interrupt to say on the Ner, Borei Meorei Ha'esh, so that because he's benefiting from the light, and so at that point just say Borei Meorei Ha'esh, and then when you get to the end of that portion of the Haggadah, when we say Asher Ge'alanu, then you add all of the Kiddush, the Havdalah and Zman with that prayer. And after that, if you forgot at any time during the meal, again you could say it. Again, you wouldn't say the blessing over wine because you already said the blessing over wine. And then also any time after the third or fourth cups, you would have to do it. And even after the whole Seder, you remembered, oh shoot, I forgot to do Havdalah, you would still have to do it. So don't forget. But if you forgot, you still have the chance to fix it. Okay, and so usually we have a custom to eat 2 cooked foods, 2 pieces of meat on Seder night. One as a recognition, one as a remembrance of the Korban Pesach, and one as a remembrance of the Korban Chagika, 2 sacrifices that were brought during this time. And so we commemorate that. Usually one we have is the shank, and then the other is an actual egg, yeah. Or we also bring 2 pieces of meat to the table to eat, because at the end of the day, the korban,